Come on in, everybody. I'm admitting everyone. Come on in, everyone, and feel free as you're coming in to have your videos on. We'd love to see your faces as you're coming in. So come on in. Please feel free, leave your videos on. And we are actually going to keep everyone muted, but feel free to use the chat to connect with each other and also to ask questions. I'll be monitoring the chat. And we would love for you all to connect with each other in the chat, and feel free to message in there right now. Where are you dialing in from or zooming in from? And how many of these events have you been to? We'd love to know. So drop that in the chat. We'd love to hear it. And let's dive straight in. I know more people will be coming in, but as a quick intro, I'm Christine Lozada. I'm hosting today's event. I'm a drone pilot, I'm a travel creator, and I'm a podcast host. About TNN, I don't know if you know this, but we have 3 types of events in the community. These travel presentations, like the ones we're having today, regional meetups, and also book clubs. So if you don't know about the book club, that's something else that's offered. These are some of the meetups from around the world. But please join the community. There's a lot of ways to connect, whether through social media or within their newly launched website as well. And actually, I'm going to a chapter event happening this weekend in Fort Lauderdale. So you can consider starting a chapter or becoming a chapter leader in your area. So housekeeping for today, we'd love to see your faces on video, but we're going to keep everyone muted. Please use the chat. We'd love to hear where you're coming in from. And I will be monitoring that for questions so we can do a Q&A at the end. And I feel like for today's presentation, we don't really need an intro. We have Matt himself. So super excited to have you, Matt. I will stop sharing my screen so that you can share yours, and then take us away.
Hey everybody, let me just click the buttons.
Now, we have people in from everywhere, from around the world, in Belgium, in Minnesota, in New York City. I love to hear it. And Matt, we can see your screen, so it looks good.
All right, cool. How's everyone going? Yeah, thumbs up. I know you're unmuted, so can't really say anything. Just give me a thumbs up. All right, so today we're going to chat about 16 lessons from 15 years of blogging. I'm going to provide general advice on sort of the business mindset of creating an online empire. I mean, lack of a better term, whether it's a blog or a YouTube channel or Instagram, these tips for having an online presence will apply to you. And then we'll take Q&A, which you'll be unmuted for. How will this move? Here we go. All right, so a little bit about me. I started this because I just wanted to keep traveling, and I had no real design. So these lessons I've sort of learned came through experience and haphazardly, because I never really set out to, have the intention of starting a blog. People today are like, oh, I want to be an influencer, or, I'm going to start this blog on this. Back then, I was just like, what can I do to make more money? And, online blogs and all this stuff was just starting. And so my goal was just to write articles online or work for Lonely Planet, just as a way to keep me going for one more day. Because that's all I really want to do, was travel. And so now we got this whole thing going, we got TNN tours. I hope you're coming on one of our tours. You should. They're super fun. We're running 26 this year. Christina can drop a link to that in the chat. Our spring tours are almost sold out. But then we have, I write guidebooks, I write regular books. It's a whole thing that just sort of happened. And so everyone starts somewhere. So along the way, here are some tips for you. One of the things people always say is like, well, I feel the space is so crowded. And a little bit you have confirmation bias, right? If you only follow food bloggers or travel bloggers or whatever it is you're doing, you feel like, wow, there's just so many out there, right? But there's a billion people on the internet, billions more actually, probably 5 billion or something like that. I don't know. So you could have, like, I find people online all the time who have millions of followers. I've never heard of them. And we have no mutual follows. They don't follow anybody I know. Which goes to show you that there are huge people out there that you have never heard of and that other people have never heard of, regardless of how big you think they are. There's like just tons of room. So I was just talking to a friend who, felt they wanted to start something online, but they just felt the online space was so crowded. And then you just think about, okay, like I blog in English, but there's probably a French blogger out there, a German blogger out there, somebody in India, somebody in Brazil. There are people out there who just are huge in their own market. So like we have this sort of confirmation bias that, I'm not first. And it helps, like definitely, I had great timing. But it doesn't mean that if you start now, you'll get nowhere. It's not a prerequisite. What is more important is that you're persistent, you're creating quality content, you keep networking with everybody, you're offering a solution to someone's problem, and you're just being innovative and you're always changing. So like, don't sort of think, I'll never get a big following, because I started so late in the game. I don't want this thing, like, there we go. Second, your content will change over time. One of the things people sort of worry about is, they create this persona online that they feel they can never change from. So don't be, but that's not true. People grow up. I've grown up sometimes. And your content will change and your audience will change. And what's more important is stepping into that change rather than be like, well, I only do this, so we can't change. For a while, I didn't want to change beyond just cheap hostels and backpacking content because that's how we, started. And like, that was what I'm known for, but I don't really stay in hostel dorms anymore. And, as the 41-year-old, a lot of my audience is now 35 plus, and they're not into hostel dorms anymore. And so like, we changed our content to be more Airbnb and more hotels and that kind of apartment sharing and your nice meals and walking tours, not just like ultra budget, right? And because as you change, what the information will change too. Like, I don't know half the things backpackers are doing these days because I'm not out there looking for the most ultra way to save money. I like nice food and I want to go on this, take a walking tour. I want to take a cooking class. And, when you're a 22-year-old backpacker, those are things you can't afford to do. So as you change, as your life changes, your content will change. And so never feel really boxed in. A lot of people go wrong when they box themselves in rather than grow, because your audience is growing with you. You can see that in so many travelers, from, people who settle down, they get a family, they just go to luxury travel. If you're talking to a lot of OG bloggers, they'll say like, this is a big fear they had of, I started this like persona, and now how do I change that persona without hurting my business? And then they just have to do it, and they realize, oh, it's never that big of a deal. Third, you want to do this from the perspective of your readers, right? So much of the modern internet is less about problem solving than more about look at all the cool things I'm doing online. And that is fun for a while because I mean, look at all the trash TV out there, you know. People love watching people live their lives and, you know, just there's this sort of voyeurism to society. But over time, people just move on and they just don't care that you're in the 40th country or you're doing this one thing that, you know, you're at this great hotel, because people can't replicate that experience. So after a while, they're tired, they're going to change the channel, right? Think of yourself as a TV show in a way, right? If you're not solving a problem, people will just be like, oh, that was interesting. And now I'm bored, and they'll change. And a lot of people will just change. They won't travel. They won't like what you're doing, and their interests will change. But to get new people, you really have to solve a problem. You know, you have to create, as my friend Clay says, learn from me, not look at me content. Because at the end of the day, if people are not going to you and being like, you create value in my life, then they're going to stop going, right? It's why so many of the original travel bloggers or just original online personalities still have a large following, because not only have they pivoted, but, you know, they were out there back in the day providing, before, you know, it was all about being a social media influencer and doing a dance on TikTok. So, you know, we did create a sort of service, like how to do this, how to do X. But, you know, I can think of a lot of people who just don't really do much anymore because it was never about, here's how you can do this thing. It was more like, here's the cool stuff I'm doing. And so you always want to think about the problem you're solving and how you can best serve your reader rather than focusing on what you are doing, because nobody ever cares about you, right? You know, like people have their own shit. You know, we have our own problems in life. You know, so, but it's more about they care about the value you're providing to them through information. And yeah, people become invested in you, the personality, or the brand. But at the end of the day, if all my posts were just about like all the cool stuff I'm doing, there would be a lower like return and lower engagement over time, because eventually people are like, I came here to learn about travel, and that information is not there. You got to remember, like, your readers also want you to succeed, right? They become invested in you, right? And so they also want to support you. And so one of the things people worry about is that becoming too salesy, right? You know, we always like, oh, you know, all you do is push products. And at the end of the day, you got to remember you're a business, and you're here to make money. But your readers are also wanting to support you. A perfect example was this: is that, you know, during COVID, we created a Patreon, and as did millions of other people. And a lot of people, even though, you know, it was tough times, donated and joined our Patreon because of the value we provided over the years, right? You know, if you think about, you know, these TNN things that are, you know, people understand you have to eat too. So you have to give them a way to like support you. And I don't want to say support you because that sounds like charity, but you have to give them a way to support your business, right? The same way you go to a restaurant, you have to you have to come up with something, you know, whether that is a product, a course, tours, you know, if you give your t-shirts, give your readers an opportunity to support you without thinking like, oh, like we have to like selling is bad. Have something, not only because you got to give your readers a way to do this, but also having your own products makes you less susceptible to influencer marketing waves and trends. If you go going back to COVID, so many people who monetize just through influencer marketing and campaigns saw their income drop to 0, right? They couldn't go anywhere. And while our income dropped by 90%, that first month, it didn't drop to 0 because we had ways to basically we had products and services that allowed our audience to continue to use us without all that stuff. And so it allows you to be independent and make more decisions that are aligned with your interests and as well as the interest of your readers. And I'm going to skip that slide. I kind of just talked about this one too, create your own products. Again, your readers want to support you, and have you never really own your income if your income is being given to you by someone else. When Airbnb dropped their affiliate program, all the bloggers were like, "Oh my God, this sucks, fuck Airbnb." But you know what? Airbnb doesn't give a shit. They are there to look out for the interest of their business, right? Amazon cuts their rates. Intrepid Travel, for example, just killed their affiliate program as well as, their partnership. World Nomads just totally changed their affiliate program for legal reasons. For us, that represents a real loss of over $100,000 a year in income from those two programs just shutting down. So that hurts. I mean, obviously 100K is a lot of money, right? But, we are not totally reliant on just them because we have diversified our income enough where we have books, courses, tours, events, in-person events, sponsorship stuff, conferences. So we control a lot of our income rather than being at the mercy of all these affiliate programs who one day just might say, yeah, we're done. And there's really nothing you can do. So the people who get the most upset are obviously the ones that built a business on somebody else's business. It's sort of like when we started TNN and we were a Facebook group. And then we killed that Facebook group. We had like 25,000 people in it. And I was just like rocking away. And part of that is because you don't want to build a business on somebody else's business, because then you really never own your business. You're never really independent. And so, as you think about monetization and all these different ways to create a business, and make sure that you have your own products. It doesn't matter what it is, but you just have to have something that you own, right? There's this girl, Emily Eats and Explores on Instagram. She just hit like 52,000. When we started hanging out last year, she had like 20. So she's growing a lot. And now she has her own courses and stuff, and she's running her own tours. And so you really want to think of like what you can offer people, independent of just affiliates or ads or sponsorships. I'm going to set that side too. Focus on SEO. Back in the day, a lot of people didn't like SEO because they felt it like ruined the humanness of blogging, right? We think of blogging and we think of online content creation as very personal. You know, here's what I'm doing, here's updates, here's how I can help you, here's some stories. But optimizing your website for search, is the best thing you can do to not only generate income, but build a platform outside of social media. Whether you're creating an Instagram or a YouTube, not the YouTube, but like a TikTok, Facebook page, whatever, you're just building on somebody else's platform. And so while Google is technically somebody else's platform, it is optimized to answer questions for people. And so while people might see you on Instagram, they're going to go to Google to say, like, what's the best things to do in Paris? It's really just optimized for unlimited free traffic of people with intent. Intent people convert because they are going to get a question answered. They're not just mindlessly scrolling through videos. They are looking to have a question answered. And that means they're going to click a link and make a booking. They're going to take an action that will lead to income. Whereas on social media, not so much. Moreover, if you become big on, say, Instagram and they change the algorithm, or you get banned, right? You get hacked or something, that's it, you're done. But, if you built up your own website to focus on SEO, Google might change the algorithm and you might go up and down or whatever, but you've created your own property that allows people to find you, whether it's through Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo or whatever, way more so than if you're just like huge on Instagram. And so if you are building just on social media without building a website that is focused on SEO, you're really missing out on not only a bunch of new readers, but also new income, but also independence. Otherwise, you're just on, you're along for the ride on somebody else's platform. And if they change how they do it, you could just go away like that. Heard this guy say when he had like all these big Facebook pages, owning it is like owning the best McDonald's in the world on top of an active volcano. You never know when it's going to explode. Second, don't get discouraged. There's always going to be setbacks. Failure is going to happen. The entrepreneur journey is like this. It's not like this. And so, we've run sales that didn't go anywhere, books that no one's bought, hosted webinars no one showed up to, had a redesign. I've hired consultants that didn't do anything except take my money. Like we had an app once that didn't work. There's just as many failures out there that you don't see that there are successes. But the trick is to remember that failure is the teaching moment. And you should not get discouraged that, oh, I didn't work. You got to take that Edison thing where it's like, oh, I didn't fail. I just found a way that didn't work and keep going at it. The people who don't succeed online think this is going to be super easy. It's not, it's a lot of work. But when something doesn't work, they just kind of throw up their hands rather than go, okay, well, that didn't work. What else can I try? You have to keep going and understand that there's going to be a ton of failures out there. You are going to spend a lot of money that's just going to, you might as well have lit it on fire. But if you want to get to a position of success, you have to just sort of dust yourself off, learn and move forward and find a new way to do something. You got to throw spaghetti against the wall and, see what sticks. And you have to be okay with letting, the things that don't stick go. Like, don't get really invested in whatever project you're doing if it's not going anywhere. You have to be able to walk away. And I'm going to go out of order a bit. So following up on this, you have to be able to walk away. If you don't love a project, leave. If you don't want to do it, walk away. Don't fall into that sunk cost fallacy where you just invested so much money that, you feel like you're trapped and you can't leave. I mean, think of TravelCon. We had this conference that lost a bunch of money. We carried it over through COVID. And, when we can finally do it again, it was fun, but, it wasn't financially viable. So, we could have kept going and hope for the best, but sometimes you just need to just cut the cord. And successful entrepreneurs know when to cut that cord. When, this isn't working, we can put in a lot more money to try to make it work, or we can find something else. You want to do the thing that makes the most amount of money for the least amount of work. And so, if projects you're doing aren't going well, leave. Just walk away. There are going to be lots of failures, and you have to accept that. And rather than get discouraged by that, you just have to keep moving on. Like, okay, this didn't work. What else can we do? Because that's the only way to really succeed. I'm going to go back a few slides. I should have really organized this a little better. Anyways, slide number 10. Remember, people will be mean online. The internet brings out the best and the worst in people. And, even after 15 years of doing it, I still take things too personally. I've learned to develop a thicker skin. So it's not like terrible, but, it still hurts sometimes. People say these things, but you got to remember, it's never about you. Trolls are just making you feel bad because they feel bad. And it's really just about, projecting their negativity into the world. So don't be afraid to block people. Just instant block on all social media platforms. It's important to take criticism, right? Valid criticism. But when people are just like, you suck, they just get blocked. For every troll, there's 1,000 people who love what you're doing. And I think that's an important thing to remember. We get trolls all the time. I get hate mail every day. But I really just tell people go fuck themselves and block them. It's not your job to be liked by everybody. From day one, you should start an email list. Social media programs, they change all the time. You get the algorithm, you miss it. They change the algorithm, nobody sees it anymore. I mean, my reach on social media is just so terrible. But email, nobody misses an email. And all my friends who have platforms on social media regret not starting an email list sooner. Because if you only exist on social media, you don't own your audience, right? Think of a YouTuber with 15 million subscribers, but every video gets 500,000. Okay, that's a ton of people not seeing that guy's content, right? Same thing with social media. You're getting like 50% of the engagement, and then over time it just drops. Then Instagram is like, well, we only like reels. So if you post photos, you're never going to see, your audience is never going to see your stuff again. And so the only way to really overcome that is to own your audience. And that means an email list, right? I was listening to James Clear, who wrote the book Atomic Habits, talk on a podcast recently. He says everything he does is to get people to join his email list. And his email list has like 2 million people. everything we do online, you'll see it on our social media. Hey, join our newsletter. Like, I always remind people to join our newsletter. When I say, like, you will miss content if you only look at us here, join our newsletter. Because I want to own my audience. I don't want to be at the mercy of Mark Zuckerberg or, Elon Musk, or the Chinese government on TikTok. Having an email list ensures that no matter what happens with any of these platforms, I will have a way to reach people who like my content. So if I get banned or locked out, I can go to people and say, hey, I'm still here. But if you are only exist on social media, you will always be losing readers. You'll never be catching up. Start an email list because no algorithm can take it away from you. Gmail doesn't, might put stuff in different folders, but you get every email you get. Remember, success takes time. Rome was not built in a day. This is a marathon. It took me years to even just start making money. And that was back when there was hardly any competition. Nowadays, you can hit that internet lottery and, go viral and get a bunch of followers real quick. But true success takes time. You have to put in the work and you have to be willing to wait years for the payoff. You have to just eat the shit sandwich and just put in the work, even if you think nobody's reading. Because it's the days where you feel like you're never getting anywhere that you're probably getting somewhere. And if you can sit through those days where nothing feels like it's working, it means you really love what you're doing. And the people who love what they're doing outlast everybody. And that passion and engagement comes through when you're talking about whatever topic you're talking about. Because people like listening to people who are passionate about something. And so, if you're passionate about something, you'll stay for a while and you're more likely to succeed. The people who quit early, they never succeed. And half the success online is just outlasting everybody else. Because, you can start with 100 people and 95 of them are going to quit. Even if you don't just do anything, you just keep posting, 95 of those people are going to quit and their audience will come to you and it'll be easy to monetize. So, if you're been doing this for 6 months or a year and you're feel like you're, spinning your wheels, my answer to you is you just started. It's going to take a year. It's going to take 2 years. It might even take 3, but you got to just keep doing it. If after 3 years, you still haven't found any traction, then you have to reevaluate sort of your strategy and what you're doing is right. But in the first couple of years, just got to assume nothing's going to happen. Be humble. There will always be someone better than you. They might even have just started out. I learned a lot from new bloggers and social media influencers and creators on photography and video and how to just get new ideas, right? I've been doing this for a while. I started at a totally different time in the internet. So my thinking process might not be as attuned to growing up when Instagram was the norm, right? Video was the norm. When I grew up, forums were the norm. You have blogs and comment on them and so, be humble, know that there will always be someone better than you. And that person might have just started 2 years ago. They just might have a different skill set. So I always want to think about what can I learn from somebody, regardless of where they are in their journey relative to you, learn from people because there's always going to be people better than you. The internet has proven that there are a lot of really good photographers in the world. There are a lot of really good writers in the world. There is a lot of very attractive people in bikinis in the world, or flowing hats, or swimsuits, and doing the hot couple thing on a beach in Bali, right? there's a lot of great video creators out there. There's a lot of, with 8 billion people in the world, there's a lot of good people doing everything. And so never think, oh, I've been doing this for 15 years. You don't know anything. Like, be humble and, always keep learning. Okay. Last two things. No. What if you're going to do this as a business, treat it like a business? Think of a restaurant down the street. The owner is not doing it all, right? He's investing in his business through decoration, decor, and hiring employees, and thinking about profit loss statements and the accounting and all that boring business shit nobody wants to do. But you got to treat it like a business. You may work online, but it's still a business. You got to think about investing in it. Buy a nicer theme, upgrade your hosting, hire someone to help, even if it's just for a couple hours a week. You have to invest monetarily into your business at some point if you want to grow it. When I started, I was making like $1,000 a month. I spent $1,000 a month on the business. I had a day job, and anything I made from the blog, I just kept reinvesting in the business. You have to put money into this business. You have to think about it like a business. Like, you can't just be doing it all on your own. You can't just, coast. You have to keep innovating. And you have to keep upgrading, especially in such a competitive, environment where so many people are going online these days to try to make it. You always have to keep investing in your business the way, a regular brick and mortar store down the street will do that. I'm going to end with this slide. Remember, there's always more than one way to do this. My way has worked for me, and it works for the kind of business I run. Some of the tips here are universal, but there's always more than one way to skin a cat. So if you find a way that works for you, that again goes to the principle of making the most money with the least amount of work, do that. If you love video, do that. If you love podcasting, do that. If you don't like to write, don't do that. We're not on a lot of video services. Why? I just don't like video. I keep trying to get into it, but I got these ring lights here. I haven't started doing video. I bought those 4 weeks ago. I keep finding reasons not to do it because my heart's not really in it. Maybe one day it will be. They're a constant reminder to start, but I keep finding other work to do. But video works for a lot of people. But what we do, helping people travel better requires writing. Here's how to do this. Here's where to go, what to do. And so, as you think about how to run things, don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to, throw a lot of spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. And what sticks for me might not stick for you. But all that matters really is, least amount of work for the most amount of money, treating it like a business, and creating content that gives people value and helps them out. Because no matter what platform you're on, no matter what you're doing, that is going to allow you to keep doing this for years to come. So everyone starts somewhere. We all start from zero. So the internet is a great equalizer because everybody starts with zero, right? We all start a website or an Instagram, and we have 0 readers and 0 followers. And so you just have to go from there. And the person that starts the day after you is starting from 0 too. And so, over time, you can use these tips to just grow, but, this takes time, Unless you hit the viral video lottery, it's going to be a long time. And even if you hit that one viral video and you get 1 million followers, your next video can get two readers. And 5 people comment. And you're like, I have 1 million people. And they're like, well, they just liked one video and they scrolled past you. You just got to be consistent. Whether your video gets 1 like or 1,000 likes, you still got to put out that third video and that fourth video and that second video and that fifth blog post. Don't get caught up in the metrics of one individual thing. Look at the aggregate over time. Okay, so that's cool. Questions?
Awesome. I got so much value out of that. And I feel like others have as well in the chat. Can we just pause to give Matt a virtual round of applause? Thank you for that. We definitely have some questions. And as we're going through these, feel free to add more questions in the chat. I've been capturing them. Matt, let's start with one that was kind of recent to a slide that you had around investing in your business. Scott asks, what if you're not making money from your blog, but you don't really have the funds to invest in it? What would you advise for him?
I mean, nobody does in the beginning. You just have to keep doing it until you make $1 or $2, or, even if you can just put $50 in at some point to upgrade your layout so it looks nicer. I didn't start hiring people, until like 6-7 years, but once I started, putting up a sponsored post or, got some ad revenue, that just went right back in, so even investing in your business doesn't have to be expensive, but, eventually, you want to upgrade your website or something. Luckily, there's a lot of cheap options these days. And maybe you have to save up a few months to get that, but at some point you'll have to improve, whether that's 6 months, a year, whatever. You do it when you can do it, but when you can do it, immediately do it.
That's great advice. Let's keep building on that. Megan had a similar question. She was asking about how much did you invest before launch to get your vision across in the website build?
$0. I started when you still had a hand-coded website. So I had to learn code, which was difficult. I think I bought my first WordPress theme. I guess it's not $0 because I had to buy hosting, so it was like $200. But I bought my first WordPress theme like a year in. I think it was probably 2 years in before I actually paid someone $1,000 to, maybe 2.5, to like custom build the website. So again, you don't have to put money in right away. You just kind of build up over time. And there's no number. There's a lot of good website themes out there for a couple $100, right? I mean, it costs nothing to start an Instagram account. I mean, yeah, you have to buy your phone or whatever, but like, there's no cost to growing on that. Websites, yeah, they require hosting, emails, cost. But I really didn't start putting money in till probably it was 2009, so a year afterwards that I was like, oh, let me spend more than $5. I think I bought somebody on Upwork to design my ebook, and it was like $75. Terrible design. You get what you pay for. But it worked back then. Now it's like $1,000 to do it because I would hire a great designer and it's all custom. It's very expensive.
Here's some good examples. Lisa asks, what are some good or free, affordable resources for improving your SEO optimization?
I think SEMrush has a free option that allows you to do some searches. Google Search Console will spit back a bunch of information that you can use. That's free. You just hook it up to your website, which you should do because I think you have to do it. But that will tell you a lot of show you a lot of errors. I don't think Ahrefs is free. Let's see, do they have a new free? Yeah, no, that's not free at all. That's I'm not really too sure, to be quite honest, other than those two. All our tools are paid. So I'm not sure what's free out there besides those two.
And maybe we can throw it back to the community. If others have something to suggest, drop it in the chat so we can help each other. But here's a question from Nicole, and she wants to know more about building your email list and how you're staying connected with your audience. What's the best way to collect emails through a blog, and how do you keep them engaged?
Well, you want to join, a good email service provider. We're back on ConvertKit. And so I would use ConvertKit, even though I don't think they're free, but it's definitely worth the cost. You want to put sign-up forms everywhere, every page. Like if you go around our site, you'll just see pop-ups and email sign-up forms everywhere. To engage them, we send out a weekly email. So every week we send out that email, and that keeps people up to date and engaged. Where people go wrong is they're just sporadic, right? You get an email one week and next week, and then it's like 3 months go by and you don't hear from people. You want to just be consistent, whether it's once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. You want people to know when to expect your stuff.
That's helpful. And for all of you here, don't forget to sign up for that newsletter if you're not already on it. I'll drop it in the comments in a minute, as well as his social handles. Let's shift gears and talk about analytics. Farha asks, how often would you recommend looking at analytics in a way that's meaningful for you to avoid daily fluctuations like you talked about?
I never look at my Google Analytics. I think I looked at it. I look at it once a year. To me, the only metrics I care about are we making more money with ads? Because that means more page views. And where are my rankings for the most important keywords? So, we try to really focus on we use Ahrefs to track this. Our goal is to really look at, does this keyword, are we still here for this keyword? Because we have thousands of pages, right? So one blog post I wrote 10 years ago that doesn't bring any revenue, I don't care if it's 1 or 700. I care about is my best houses in Paris post, number one. So, if you want to look at, Google Analytics as a way to, measure success, I'd look at it probably once a quarter. But, you kind of really have to think about what your goals are, right? We don't really focus on Pinterest. So the fact that last year my Pinterest traffic dropped a whole bunch is not really a big deal for me, because I don't really give a shit about Pinterest. I was very excited to see that our Google traffic was pretty good, but our Facebook traffic grew like 14%, but our Twitter traffic was even. So I'm like, okay, let's take a look at that. A few of core content pages had lost a lot of traffic. So I was like, okay, let's take a look at where they're ranking now. Is that loss of traffic related to our position in the search term or related search terms, or is just people not searching for that as much anymore? And so probably I would say once a quarter is pretty good to look at aggregates, but you don't really want to, as long as you're growing, I wouldn't get too caught up in it. Otherwise, you'll just get real deep into it. And you'll never feel like you're getting anywhere, because you'll get caught up on these little things rather than looking at the big picture.
Lisa has a question about growth as a generation tactic. And actually, a quick plug, if you guys haven't seen the current giveaway that the Nomadic Network is doing on their Instagram, make sure you check that out. There's a really awesome offer or giveaway that's happening over there for one of their tours. But Lisa's asking about contests. Is this a good lead generation tactic? And where does that fit into your strategy versus other kinds of content you create?
Oh yeah, giveaways really work well. We're about to do a whole email one. You might have noticed Nate and Kara from, Kara and Nate, the YouTube channel. They did a huge giveaway last year. They got a lot of subscribers on for it, and so we, we always do giveaways. It's a great way. You got to think about what's a good giveaway and how does it relate to your audience. But yeah, giveaways and contests are a great way to generate leads.
Helpful. I hope I asked Vivian's question correctly. Do you think Chat GPT will positively or negatively change the blogging industry?
I have no idea. I mean, it's interesting, and I've played around with it.
Actually, for those like myself that don't know what it is, what is it?
ChatGPT is an AI thing where you can type in questions and you'll get great responses. And it's actually pretty cool. You could be like, I saw one that was write a review of SAS business class from the point of view of a credit card blogger who is pitching Chase at the end. And it was actually like reading the points guide. And so, I think it's interesting. It's very basic. Like I typed in like write a best things to do in Thailand post, and like it was okay. It was not a lot of like depth to it. So I think it's too early to say. It's a fun thing. What's the practical use for it as a business? Who's to say? Google has already said that they will, if it seems like AI wrote it, they'll downrank you. But it could just, I wrote my bio with it and it was like the perfect bio. So like simple things like that, probably pretty good. Like complicated articles, I'm not sure.
I like that. And by the way, for those who are wondering about the email questions from earlier, some people have some helpful comments in the chat, so check that out. Apologies if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Mithalesh asks, what is your backlink strategies for your website?
These days, lots of guest posts. And just the fact that we are just a gigantic website, we organically just generate a bunch of links. If I was starting out, I would guest post everywhere. And I would find a community of other bloggers where you can just sort of swap links with. Guest posting, you used to be able to get so much traffic from it too. That's not really the case anymore. Because people don't read blogs the way they used to. But we try to do like 3 guest posts a month, where we can simply just generate links. So find other bloggers and write for them.
I gotta write that one down.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question. And this might be a story or an example from your past, but Far asks, when something isn't working, and you had kind of talked about walking away from things, when something isn't working, how do you decide when to double down and get deeper and give it more time versus when it's time to set it aside and move on to the next thing?
I kind of look at, are we growing? And B, have we tried everything? So for example, let's take, and look at costs. So for example, let's say we had this app many years ago. Could we grow this app? Sure. Was there a market for it? Yes. Did the cost justify that for like a $2 app? No. Take a look at TravelCon. Could we grow that revenue? Yes, revenue was growing. But could we shoulder the cost after COVID? And did it still align with our business strategy? No. Now we are focused only on consumers. And so running a blogging conference while shifting your business to consumers didn't really align. And so I think you want to look like, okay, I'm really into this. Like, what are the costs? What's the potential revenue? And is there a market for it? And also time versus money. Like, maybe it's just like, I could do this for 5 years and spend $500,000 to get there. But is it really what I want to do? We shifted away from online courses when everybody started making a course. You know, we tried a whole different models, and it was just, it wasn't getting to where it needed to be any longer. It sort of passed its shelf life, and we said, okay, we could hire someone to really help, or we can just shift. And we hired someone to help, and it didn't really work. And I asked this guy, and I was like, if I just like gave you free control, do you think you could do anything? And he's like, no, I think we've tried everything. And when you feel like you've tried everything, that's really a good way to be like, all right, let's just walk away.
You've very transparently shared a lot about your business. So let's give Matt another round of applause. And I feel like you stayed super authentic and true to how you opened it, which was provide a ton of value, which I got a ton of value. I feel like we all did here. I know we only have a couple minutes left. So before I go into the closing slides, Matt, is there anything else you wanted to share? And for those in the chat, make sure you check his newsletter, as well as all his social handles are in there as well. Was there anything else you wanted to share, Matt?
No, that was a great hour.
Yeah, thank you so much. And there are so many more awesome events, both here online and in person, and the book club coming up. So go to the nomadicnetwork.com/events to see all of them. I'm going to an in-person meetup this weekend in Boca for the Fort Lauderdale group. And don't forget, like he mentioned earlier, about the group tours. Check out at the.nomadic.network Instagram for one of their giveaways that they're doing around that right now. And there's
the nomadicnetwork.com/tour. Oh, are you talking about Instagram?
Oh, I was talking about the Instagram. But also look on the nomadicnetwork.com/tours. There's also the book club coming up. So make sure you check that out and connect with Matt. And we hope to see you here in the community again very soon. And that's all we got for you today. Matt, anything else?
No, I think that's great.
Awesome. Thank you all for coming. And we hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Bye.